Everyone, how's everyone doing here today? It's been a while, so I hope you're all well and everything. And I know I'm a little late on this. Common statement for me is it's in regards to what happened with the recent floodings back in July. And it turns out prior to that, certain funding under the Biden administration was offered to them, along with people in some of the other counties and districts, and that they had turned it down. This was funding under the Recovery Care Act. I might be off on a little of the details, but it was intended to set up equipment or parameters to help give early warnings of floods. And for the most part, the people turned it down because they were very tribal, the Republican voters, I imagine, and they had a lot of issue with the Biden administration. I don't know specifically what, but some of the statements which they had, you can look it up on YouTube, were saying things along like, it would be giving in to communism. Like if they took that money, it's like they'd be selling out. Some even went as far as to say, we're making a deal with the devil, or that, Biden's the Antichrist. They literally use such wording, okay? I don't know the exact wording, but it was along the lines of that. And unfortunately, we saw the devastation that occurred in July, and there were casualties as a result of it. I'm not even talking about some of the recent Trump efforts or lack of, which I'll get into. But what I would say to these people, and I'm really trying to be as respectful as possible here, okay? Because what the hell were you thinking? Seriously. I'm saying it to be sympathetic because some of you suffered property damage, some of you there was loss of life and everything, and I have no way, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would imagine that funding would have helped in some shape or form and potentially reduce the number of casualties. Like if there was some early warning or some ways where they could have said, hey, there's a flooding heading your way, you need to get you and your family out of Dodge before it's too late. Then chances are, some of these people that died might still be alive. And I hate to finger wag at people like that. I'm really not trying to do that, but it's like, this goes beyond the politics, where I would say you have a responsibility to yourself and to your families. I don't care what party you side with, I don't care who you voted for in the last election, or how you may vote in future elections. But if there's an opportunity where the government can do things to help you in your county, especially as far as disaster relief goes or prevention, you take them up on that, because it's not communism, it's not even socialism, which I know are words that some of you might throw around. It's called, that is the government doing their job, okay? Put it this way, if it were to happen here, if there was some, relief funding from the Trump administration, God forbid, he actually does things to help people, because from what we see in the headlines, especially lately, he seems to be more inclined to help himself rather than the American people, especially with the big, beautiful BS Bill Act. If they offered funding where they could do something, where they could put up a warning system so that we could get advance warning in the event of a disaster. Disasters are going to happen. I don't blame the politicians for that. It's how they deal with it, both before and afterwards. And yeah, if a hurricane hit my house, which has happened in the past, and there was considerable property damage, where suddenly me and the missus were living in a motel, and they say, hey, we got FEMA funding for you to help you, expedite the repair so you can get back home. I'm going to take the money. Not because I see it as, I'm selling out. It's not like it's money coming out of Trump's savings accounts, God forbid. But it's the government doing their job, and that's the point. I'm not even saying you have to like Biden. You can absolutely hate him. You take issue with him, fine. But you got your families to think about. And if you, make decision-making saying, no, we're not going to take the money and roll the dice, well, you know what? When the dice comes up against you, then it's on you. I mean, to say nothing about, all the Doge cuts, which could have made a difference had those cuts gone into play. Having the wrong people in charge, like stupid loyalists, like Kristi Noem, who was an absolute swine, who I heard she didn't send FEMA help until 72 hours later after the flood. Okay? Because she was too busy working on her glamour shots, which once again shows they don't care about you. The Biden administration did. He was doing his job, okay? Maybe you don't like the guy, but at least take the help, at least do what's right for your family and stuff like that, to prevent things from getting so catastrophic. Are you learning anything yet? Because if the answer is no, if you're going to keep repeating the same mistakes, in the end, it's just going to come back at you and stuff like this. There's always going to be natural disasters. There's always going to be tragedies like this. But if there are things that we can do to use government funds rather than tax cuts for the wealthy to help the American people, yes, even in red states, I don't care where. And you guys have an obligation to help your families. You take the money. It's not selling out. It's not communism. You're not making a deal with the devil. I don't even get the whole satanic angles and stuff like that. Like, well, he's the Antichrist. He's signing a deal with the devil. No, you're letting the government do his job to serve the American people, to serve you and your community. If you're not willing to do that, then I don't know. Like I've said before, you've chosen a strange hill to die on, but ask yourselves seriously, not in a shameful way, like, what if you had used that money? What if you had set up something? What if there could have been an early warning? I think the outcome would have been greatly different. So you can either learn from your mistakes or keep repeating them. I hope for your sakes, and most importantly, for your family's sakes, you take this as a learning experience, And again, I'm not trying to be like fingerwag, but it's like when I hear stuff like that, I say to myself, you got to eventually put your politics aside and really do some thinking and ask yourself, what is the best thing for me and my family, for my community? So, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see in the meantime. So, either way, thank you for watching, and I really hope you understand. It's important that you do.